Before we begin these recaps, The Tattooist of Auschwitz is based on a true story. It's a harrowing, hard-hitting drama about the Holocaust, and it obviously references one of the worst periods in human history. With that in mind, we will not be including any memes, silly anecdotes, or cutaways as part of our coverage of this show. We will not disrespect the honour of those who passed away and those who survived and had to endure the horrors of World War II. Thank you. Episode 3 of The Tattooist of Auschwitz begins back in the camps. Lali helps an inmate. We don't see who it is from this angle, but we're led to believe it's Gita, out of the barracks. He promises that things will be okay as they groan in discomfort. The scene then zooms in on a young Jewish prisoner, whom we later learn is called Leon, before cutting back to the present. In the present, Gita's friends, including Ivana and Hannah, hide Gita inside the clothing warehouse and try to help her, as we soon learn that her cut is very much infected. Lali happens to be in his room, and he takes contraband from under the floorboards and stuffs it in his bunk. This is all the gold and jewelry he's been getting from Gita. Bretsky shows and sees him, pointing out that he's late. Bretsky refuses to disclose what's happened to Gita, and, even worse, Papen is apparently gone too. He now needs to pick another tattooist. Lali shows up after seeing a poor kid beaten to the ground and decides to give him a way out. The kid refuses to disclose much information, at least to begin with, and keeps himself to himself, wondering just why Lali is trying to help him. The man is taken through to the processing plant, where masses of inmates are taken into the camps while jovial music plays. It's a horrific contradiction of tones, and in some ways it makes everything all the more sadistic. Lali oversteps his mark inside the plant and asks Bretsky about Gita, calling over across the room. Knowing that his superior could hurt him badly for this, Bretsky throws a chair at Lali's head to keep up appearances. It turns out this man alongside him is a musician called Leon. Lali gives Leon some sound advice, and in doing so, the man confirms his name. It turns out he's gay too, which makes sense as we actually saw this foreshadowed during the opening parts of the episode. There were two men sitting on the beach of Melbourne, cuddling and laughing. It's a reminder of how far we've come with LGBTQ+ rights, a subtle inclusion and an excellent way to insert this message. Anyway, Lali sneaks into the women's camp in a bid to find Gita. He learns from her superior, whom he bribes once more, where Gita is located. She's taken out of the warehouse and brought back to her bunk, where Lali sees firsthand that she is not in a good way. The barracks though are now overrun with extra families, and Lali finds that his humanity is slowly starting to slip away. He catches a couple of kids going through his floorboards and he reprimands them. Thankfully, he finds a contraband inside his bunk, right where he left it, and he breathes a sigh of relief. In the morning, Leon is beaten down by the Nazi officer overseeing him, but Lali watches as this man has no fear. Despite taking a massive beating and having blood oozing from his mouth, Leon keeps a stiff upper lip and keeps on fighting. Leon and Lali are next tasked with visiting the hospital, where they tattoo the new inmates inside. Screams ring out, but Leon begins humming as a way of trying to quell their concerns as he tattoos. The SS officer inside one of the rooms steps out and looks at him with a chilling expression on his face, but thankfully he doesn't take any further action. This little touch does help those inmates, and this time inside the hospital seems like the prime excuse for Lali to get some supplies for Gita. After getting what he needs, he heads to the women's camp, throws some medicine over to one of Gita's fellow inmates, and it seems to help her recover. However, what Lali actually had to do to get that medicine is far more horrific than the story he originally spins for Heather. She promises to hear him out and offers a reassuring touch on the shoulder for good measure. So what did Lali do? Well, it turns out the nurse initially refused to help, but speaking to the SS officer, the one who stared at Leon earlier inside the hospital, he asks outright for the medicine. In order to get that though, he has to do a favour for the doctor, specifically taking the women out into the yard, where they're left alone naked. The fences have been switched off, and while they all huddle together and freeze, Lali is given the medicine in exchange. These women know, well, they're being disposed of, that's the doctor's words, in the morning. Alone, Bretsky speaks to Lali and points out that he knows about the contraband and what he's doing to survive. He wants in, and specifically, he wants cigarettes and other gear. Lali tries to negotiate, but gets a slap to the face for his troubles instead. He's also warned that something could happen to Gita if he doesn't play ball. When Lali sees her later that day, she looks much better, and he closes his eyes, happy that Gita is at least on the mend. When he sees her again, the pair immediately get down to business. As these two have a good bond together, this glimmer of happiness helps Lali focus, and now his attention turns to Nadia. She comments how he's good with kids, and in exchange he apologises for shouting at the pair earlier in the week. Nadia's own children didn't survive the journey here, but she's seen that as a blessing, as they didn't see this camp firsthand. As the pair talk, Lali explains that she reminds him of his sister, and this helps to tie their bond closer together. Midway through tattooing sometime after, Leon is pulled aside by the hospital doctor, who tells him that he's needed. Lali tries to take his place, but apparently it's not that sort of work. But the reality is far worse. It turns out the doctors fried Leon's balls and cut them off completely. It's a horrible revelation when we find out later on, and something that Lali has carried with him all this time. In 2003, he bitterly comments on the way people can do such barbaric acts to others. The grim reality here, of course, is that millions would still be alive today had this not happened. Unfortunately, things take a horrible turn when Lali returns to his room that afternoon. Boretsky is there, along with several other SS officers, and they notice the jewelry contraband. They have it all lined up on the bed, and all Lali can do is shut his eyes and pray that he won't be killed. And that is where episode 3 comes to an end. Thanks for watching, and do let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Smash a like or subscribe to the channel, your support is very much appreciated. I'm Greg Wheeler, and from all of us over here at The Review Geek, we'll see you on the next video.